The bonds that live between us are very deep, full of emotion. And even though Elizabeth is not our monarch, she has become a part of our households, our affections, and our admiration. As someone who, in her long reign, has adapted to an ever-changing world, who has grown, and through it all has been faithful in her love of her people and her country, an ally of unestimable value. And so we salute you today, and we join with you in this, a very important celebration in your country. Softly and tenderly Jesus is calling, calling for you and for me. See, on the portals he's waiting and watching, watching for you and for me. Come home, you who are weary, come home. Earnestly, tenderly, Jesus is calling, calling, O sinner, come home. Not bad for an Episcopalian. I still get tears in my eyes when I hear Cynthia Clawson singing this at the beginning of the movie Trip to Bountiful, a movie about a lonely old woman played by Geraldine Page who escapes from confinement with her son and daughter-in-law to journey back to her childhood home in Bountiful. The journey is full of meetings and musings and memories about her home in Bountiful, the home of her childhood. But when she finally gets back to Bountiful, she finds her home is just a shell, because her true home, the true Bountiful, lives within her own imagination, within her own yearnings, within the adventure of the journey, within her own heart, within the people surrounding her, all along the journey, as opposed to the journey's end. You and I are on that trip to Bountiful. Our hearts yearn for it, even though we can't really find the words for it, and a lot of times what we see as our yearning for Bountiful gets played out in yearning for other things, even being seized by a desire for other things. But our imaginations carry its image in a myriad of ways. And we want sometimes, when the night is dark, or we're anxious, or we're alone, or we're lonely, just to come home to a warm embrace, to come home to people who love us and understand us, to come home to a place where we have community and care. And in fact, that is Jesus' call to us, to come home, as the wonderful old gospel hymn says, to our dreams, to our most authentic selves, to himself, who is within us love itself, love in its deepest and truest reality. We yearn to come home to that place where we are welcomed with tenderness and compassion, with gentleness and peace. And this yearning for home keeps us restless, doesn't it? There's a restlessness in us. Keeps us ever vigilant, ever on the outlook, maybe around the corner, maybe down there, maybe around the bend, maybe in this job, maybe in this person. in this relationship, even in this worship service, we will have a hint. We will find home. Through applause and adoration, through success and vocation, at work and at play, we're ever searching, ever restless, ever looking to get to that place where it's perfect, that place where it's whole, that place where we are at peace. The inner divine whispers through it all, "Come home, come home, come home." But the seduction is that for a moment, over and over again, we think we have found it, that we've actually found Bountiful. But then when we come up to it, like Geraldine Page found, it is merely a shell, a phantasm, like one of those ruins of an old farmhouse we glimpse on a warm southern day in the midst of tobacco fields long gone to seed. King David thought he had come home one spring day while walking along the roof of the king's palace. He was tired from years of battle, tired from the responsibilities of ruling a restless people, struggling with the loneliness of office with no peers. And so that spring, he did not go to battle like the other kings, like he had done in earlier years. He did not live with the discipline that helped him stay focused on the mission that was before him. He gave it up for the spring. He gave up soldiering. He became a child again. And he began to feel his soul yearning for Bountiful. And so one evening, peering over the side, down on Uriah's patio, he saw her, Uriah's wife, Bathsheba. And he was seized. You know what it is to be seized by desire? Bathsheba was home. She was all he had been looking for, all he had been yearning for. She was divine. She was perfection. But what he did not recognize was that she was simply human. And he was missing the mark. As beautiful and desirable as she was to him, Bathsheba was, through his eyes, merely a shell. Just a human being, the projection of his own imagination. He had strayed off course, and the actual meaning of sin is precisely that, to be strayed off course, to be deflected. And so he had to be brought back by Nathan the prophet through a story. Nathan, who held up a mirror, not a mirror of condemnation, I want you to hear that, but a mirror of understanding. Well, you and I are more like David than not, tired of being homeless, hungering for Bountiful. We're ready to see it in so many places. I thought I had come home to Bountiful when I met my wife, then future wife, Kathy. She was perfection, a goddess. Good thing she's not here, it'll go to her head. The answer to all my needs and yearnings. But as wonderful as she is only human. And over the years, we've had to adjust to each other's humanity, hers to mine and I to hers. I thought I had come home to Bountiful when I first came here as a young curate in my 20s. Here it was, my first position, an Anglican priest's dream. A Gothic church with great music and a wonderful community. Isn't that right, Grant? But I hate to tell you, it was an earthen vessel full of gifts and troubles and struggles, and I was just a sojourner. I'd not come home. In the fullness of time, I had to move on. But woven in and through all our restless searches is an image, an emotion, a feeling for a true home, a hunger. And there's another country, as the hymn goes, another country I've heard so long ago, most dear to them that love her, most great to them that know. We may not count her armies, we may not see her king. Her fortress is a faithful heart. Her pride is suffering. And soul by soul and silently her shining bonds increase. And her ways are ways of gentleness, and all her paths are peace. We never get there to that final home, because that final home is within us. It's at the heart of our journeys. It's at the heart of our resting places. Those moments, even of suffering, we find home. Those moments when we are drawn out of ourselves to love, we have found a hint of home. Those moments like now, when two peoples come together to sing each other's songs and to find within our hearts the common song of brother and sisterhood, of love and history, we've touched a bit of home. We are sojourners, we will move on. But like Geraldine Page, standing before the shell of her former home, we discover that home is in the journey, in the restless places, the hint of our final home in the end. Amen.